Oh, well, it's been a while, and I'm trying to get back into the swing of things, but it has been a crazy busy past few months. And I've been trying to go through my backlog, but I ended up finding something new, which I think is going to take my attention, because I'm actually really interested in this project, and hopefully you will be too, because I've been looking into ways to play. I consider myself, I guess, somewhat of a console preservationist, is what I'm calling it, where I'm trying to preserve all the consoles, the retro consoles that are out there, and make it so that I can both experience all the games that I want to play with, flash carts, but use the original hardware connected in at least mostly the same way, connected to like a CRT or maybe even a flat screen just for convenience, and try to play them in as convenient a method as possible. So I've done a lot of like remote gameplay, so like using the NES satellite, trying to make it so I don't have to have a wired controller all the time. So I'm always trying to find ways to take these retro consoles and, modernize the use of them without really modifying the hardware much. So what I've been trying to do is find a way to play Game Boy games, like on the TV. And there's a couple of OEM supported options, such as the Super Game Boy, which is a cartridge adapter that goes to the Super Nintendo that lets you plug in Game Boy cartridges. Problem with that is you can only play Game Boy games. You cannot play Game Boy Color, nor can you, of course, play Game Boy Advanced. It wasn't around at that time. So that is kind of off the table for me. It's kind of I feel like it's a nice novelty to have, but I want to be able to play more on the TV. The other alternative, which again I think only plays Game Boy Color, doesn't play Game Boy Advance, there's a console adapter for the GameCube that goes underneath and attaches to the whole console. I don't have one of those, and I don't actually have a GameCube either. I've got a Wii that has the GameCube controller ports and plays GameCube games, so I don't really feel the need to go out and get a GameCube, at least not yet. So again, that still doesn't really itch the scratch that I've got. What I did find is that you can take Game Boy Advance, the classic type, the handheld, and they sell mod kits, which I was able to get on AliExpress with all import taxes included. It was all told, I think it was about $100. Comes with a new IPS LED screen, comes with a full new shell, which is pre-modded for what I'm going to be doing with it. It's got new buttons, and what it allows for you to do is, break this out here, use a docking station, USB-C docking station, and plug in an SNES controller, a mini or classic controller like NES Classic or NES Mini, from some of the more recent revisions of those systems, as well as Bluetooth, which is what I was really interested with this one. Power it through USB-C, connect it through HDMI Mini, and plug it into your TV. And then you take the console and you set it down pretty much like a retro modernized Nintendo Switch. So use that dock, and after we mod it, we should be able to both play a handheld with a new IPS backlit screen and plug it into the TV and play not only Game Boy Color, but also Game Boy Advance games. So I'm super excited about this mod. Comes with all the parts you need. So in here, which I'm not sponsored or anything, but thanks High Speed I do. This is the board that will be doing all the heavy lifting. You can see there's the USB-C port, and these connect for the controller, because it has to pass the controller input onto the actual controller pads. So that all plugs in there, and I believe the screen is in there as well. Yeah, the screen's in there too. And then what I went with was a transparent green case. Comes with the back plate and everything, all the buttons inside. I've done some Game Boy Color mods with these, really just a shell replacement and IPS replacement, and it was really nice quality, really nice. And what you can see is on the bottom, they've got a it's supposed to be a laser cut or machine cut, whatever, pre-cut hole for that USB-C, which should let us plug it right under the dock. It's also got a new front panel. So once I get out with this mod, this thing will look good as new. One of the things I did get with this model, or with this this unit, is I've got the AC adapter for the Game Boy Advance, the AGB001, and this is the adapter is the AGB008, which is not a battery pack. All this does is allow you to plug the Game Boy Advance into the wall outlet and use it without having to use any batteries. So it's pretty nice. But we're going to stop there, and I'm going to start cracking this baby open. And we're going to see A, how clean it is, and B, I want to see how hard this mod is going to be to install. But super excited to get started. Alright, so we're going to start with our tri-wing screwdriver here. Alright, more screw down there. Okay, let's pop the sharp off. Wow, nice and easy. I don't know if that case comes with this metal tray, but I'm going to leave it on for now. We're just going to leave it all together and see what we're left with at the end here. Got some shoulder, I guess side pads, I don't know what to call them. And I'm assuming these have little teeny springs on them. Oh, not terrible. Oh my gosh, I love this design. Wow, why couldn't they have made all the buttons like this? I don't know if you've seen the other video of mine where I take apart, I believe it was the DS Lite. Oh my gosh, that was the worst experience I have ever had with taking off the shoulder buttons. Actually, taking them off wasn't terrible, but holy moly, putting them back on was terrible. This is like so easy. You just stick it right back in and it works again. That's, man, why do they have to change it? That was a great design. Now let's see. This just, oh, I got some, 1, 2, just one? Wow. Just one screw, okay. One screw holding this in. So, at least I think so. I feel like there's another one over here that I'm just missing. Ah, yeah. Because there is one. This is a pretty nice, clean design. I never owned a Game Boy Advance. I've got a few of the Game Boy SPs. I've done a IPS mod on a few of those, and I really enjoy that console. It's nice and compact and really easy to work on, unless you're replacing like micro components. But we won't be doing that here today. Take that off. And that's our system board, which you can see this one pretty darn clean. All things all told, yeah. The speaker's nice. Speaker does work. Contacts inside there are nice and clean. Backside's nice and clean. No apparent leakage from the capacitors. It's a nice clean board. The shell itself has seen some use, but really doesn't have any issues apart from just needing to be a little bit cleaned. But we're going to pop out the buttons. Yeah, see? Yuck. And that's it. I'm not even going to take the screen out. We'll just keep all the parts as they are currently. So, yeah. There's our system board. And we'll take some of these components out here and take a look at what we got. So we'll require a bit of soldering. Let's see. Make sure we can bend anything. Oh, I don't know what that is. Must be some type of light bar. That's the one thing about these, is that the instructions they have are on the product page of the website, or on the AliExpress app, and they're not terrible. I mean, I've seen way worse as far as instructions go. There's some insulating film. There's the ribbons for the screen. Depends on the model you have. There's two flavors of the AGB001. There's a 32 pin and then a 40 pin when it comes to the screen. So I'm gonna make sure I get the right one. And right back here is the screen that's causing me issues here. Ah, it's not unzipped all the way. That's why this is so hard to get out. Okay. So, looks like this is all together. There's the screen. Got some lovely fingerprints on it. Luckily they put that tape over it. And then we've got the back end here. You can see the screen is already connected. Let me actually take that off. Yeah, I'll use my little pick here. There we go. Take that off. So there's our screen. And here is the controller board, which these are already soldered on, which is nice. This is for, I believe this is for like the touch input to control brightness, etc. And this connects into the motherboard with the ribbon cable here. I'm going to see which ribbon cable we actually need by comparing it to the existing one, which I think I think mine was a 32. Let's double check here. Yep, that is the one I need. So that's going to end up going in here. I'm going to make sure that I put it the right way up, because to be honest right now I can't recall which way it goes. I have a feeling it's like that, but I'll double check the instructions, see what they got for me. So I can put some of this back in the bag. Here we've got, this is a little foam cushion for the screen. Here's the new, I believe it's glass. Yeah, that's glass. It's a nice glass front plate for the screen. And here we have one of the controller connectors, which this one, I believe, goes, let's see which one this goes on. Aha. Like a little puzzle. Fits right over there and gets soldered into these vias here, 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 and there. Then this plugs into the component board, system board, I don't know what to call it at this point. And this is the other one, which goes on this side. and fits around these components like so, and we solder those in. So I'm going to refer to the instructions on the Ollie website. I gotta find out what these pieces are. Almost not sure if they're actually used or not, but don't want to throw anything away, that's for sure. Make sure I read the instructions really well. I also have some wires here which are going to be soldered between a few points on this board. I believe some of these are soldered in, and then this, oops, these are soldered in from near the battery terminals for battery protection. So that's pretty nice. And yeah, we'll have to see. There's going to be soldering on both sides. Not sure which side I'm going to start with, but I'm going to go take a look at some directions and see what we can get from there. Okay, well, we got the shell opened up here. You can see they've already etched away. This is really just a replacement shell that they've taken a Dremel to, which, well, whatever, it'll work. And for my purposes, all I really want to do is be able to play those games on my TV and be able to play it outside of it too, which I think this will definitely serve that purpose. So I'm looking at the instructions, and what we're going to try doing first is putting the screen into the new shell. So I'm going to take this off and show you. They've already got the parts cut out for the battery, modifications that need to be made, and it does come with the metal plate here, which looks fine. So I'm going to set this over to the side. I'll take out the buttons, and it does come with these little shoulder things, grippers, I don't know what to call them. So that's good. Although I may consider transferring them over from the old system. I've done that before, and it seems to work out pretty nicely. But the first thing we're going to do is we're going to fit this pad into this area in here. So we're supposed to peel off. The instructions have a blue and a white side on this. Mine does not have what I perceive as a difference in color. They said peel off the white side. I don't know about you, but these look pretty much the same to me. But from what I saw, the thin side here and the thin side here is supposed to fit up and to the left. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to peel this off, and we're going to place it in. I don't think I need the middle part to come out, really. I don't think that needs to stick. And we are going to place this in the top left. Turn that focus, going to squish it in here as much as I can. Okay, that's in there. Good. And smooth all along the bottom. I feel like I can probably peel this section out, maybe. There we go. That's some extra, I guess, if I need it. And the next thing, I did find out what these are for. These are to allow you to position the screen. So what I'm going to do is I guess set them here, and that lets you press down on the screen, which I'm going to try to put right in the center. I'm also supposed to put some the insulating film is supposed to go on the back of the screen. So I think what I'm going to do is do that first. I'm going to take an alcohol wipe. I got some pretty bad fingernail markings there. Not that I think it'll matter too terribly much, but I do want it to be clean. As I say that, and the strings from these dang alcohol wipes get caught on there. Don't let that dry. And then we're going to take our microfiber cloth and just wipe off the rest of it, residue here. Close enough, I think. The other thing that I need to do is I need to peel off this film. Now what I probably should have done from the beginning is put on a pair of gloves. Let me get some nitro gloves going here. These things are a lifesaver, especially when it comes to working on screens. These darn pesky dirty fingerprints. So we're going to peel off the insulating film here. And we're going to try placing this. Let's see if this is exactly the same width. Yep, okay. Yep, alright. I'm just going to slide this over here. Okay. Got some bubbles, but I don't think that's going to matter too much. It's supposed to be for electromagnetic interference to insulate against that, so I think we'll be okay. Okay, we'll place our sticks, is what they call them. Must be the technical term for them. And we're going to peel off, if we can. You know what? I have tools for a reason. That was satisfying. I'll get our stick position again. And now we need to peel off that layer there. Looks beautiful. I'm going to try to get this as straight as possible. Okay, I think that turned out pretty well, except for that dang hair there. There, and now what we need to do is put on the glass. I want to protect that screen. So here we go. Here's our glass plating, which I believe I'm just going to use my tool again and try to be very delicate with it. So many layers of adhesive here. Okay. I think I'm going to go from the top first. Oh, I don't like that. But, you know what? I'm going to be playing this mostly on the TV anyway, but I don't know if you can tell, but you can visibly see the sides and the adhesive on the inside. I might be able to peel off the screen on the inside and kind of reposition that. I'm going to try that right now. Now, I can do this very carefully is the key to find my little tools. Okay. Darn thing. Screen still looks okay. So what I'm gonna do, looks like this just got pressed up, which I really don't like that. See if I can pop it, push it down some more. You know, I think I found what the problem is. This is the same thing that happened on one of my other Game Boys. Their instructions were backwards. They had the little piece up and big piece down, which is upside down from where it needs to be. It would be nice if they sent an extra piece of adhesive here. The good news is, if it works anything like the Game Boy that it worked in previously, the adhesive is pretty forgiving. And since I'm using gloves, I'm not getting my oils all over it to dispel the stickiness. But man, this makes me mad. Try to follow the instructions. Okay. Round number 2. Good news is, I don't think many should not be visible from the front now. That looks much better. Get the inside, once over with the glove. Of course, I got a little sticky thing there. Alright, I have to use a cotton swab. Oh, you know what? I'm calling that good enough. Now, what I noticed last time was that this was, I don't think, over far enough, so we're going to take a look at it. See, that's still like super far over. So we're going to see how that looks. That's still crooked. That's better. Well, we got some dust in there, but you know what? I don't think, all things considered, that's too bad. I think what I'm going to do is take this off one more time. Poor screen. Here's my glove. Get those little specks off. Y'all are probably screaming at your screen right now. But, you know what? That's what it is. I really don't want to take this thing back apart, so I'm trying to get as many of these little scuffs and marks as I can. I think that's going to be good enough. Just kidding, we're going to do one more with the microfiber. Honestly, what I think I need is one of those phone screen cleaning kits that you get with a screen protector. I feel like that would work perfectly. But you know what? This is what we got. This is what we got for right now. Man, there's a little spot right there. Don't want to get. Okay. That is as close as I am going to get it. I'm calling it now. And this is going to be... Nope. Don't want to place that. No. Let's see how this looks. Okay. I'm calling it close enough. I don't think I'll be able to see any of the issues while I'm playing a game, so we're calling it. Oh, there's gonna be forever dust in there, but that's gonna be annoying. Man, you think you got it, and then it just... Well, oh, there we go. Close enough. Can really only see it in the light of this anyway. If I turn it off, I think it's good. Okay. Good to go. So, don't need these anymore. And the next leg of our journey is going to have to wait. I'm going to have to take a cut here. But next thing we're going to have to do is take the USB board, and we end up, it sits right, it's supposed to sit anyway, it's supposed to sit right here. It's not, it's kind of sitting a bit flush. I'm going to have to insert it maybe here. Well, I don't want to work it in there just yet. What I might have to do is sand off these things right here. I have to sand that off. But what I'm going to do first, I've got to solder these three: ground, battery plus, and F0. I've got to solder those. I've got to solder the wires onto that, and then I need to solder that onto the motherboard after I pop it in. So first up, I'm going to solder those wires on from this side first. I'm not doing it and end up messing up the case. And then I'm also going to be soldering on the connector cables to the controllers from outside the case. And then we'll do that on camera, and then we'll come back. I'm feeling like I might have to, well, I guess maybe that is supposed to just stay in there like that. So I'm going to leave that out until we're done. I'm going to solder this piece on, then we're done. We'll put this ribbon cable back in, and I kind of want to see how it works, but kind of stuck not being able to see that until we're done. We're close to done. But so far, other than the stupid screen stuff always being a pain, I think it's going pretty well. So, on to soldering. Alright, so we're going to be soldering a couple of points here. We've got F0, battery positive, and ground. So, the first thing I'm going to be doing is getting some flux, and we're just going to dab a little on those areas. Don't really need too much, I don't think. Nice fresh pads. There we go. And I'm also going to put some on, I think, on my wires. Can't really see that. Okay. Cap this. Get our suction going. I only fluxed 2 of those, didn't I? And I need 3. Alright, let's try this again. Got our soldering iron. course, ground is going to be the hardest. We're going to solder this in first. We're going to turn this up a little bit to 705. And we're going to get a little bit more flux for that ground. Ground is always the problem. It's got a big, practically heat sink attached to it. Oop. That's a little bit too much. That ground plate must be huge. That's good, that's good. Well, I think I might have to try either higher temperature, which I think is what I'm going to have to do. I just don't want to fry that board. But, no, we're going to try it. Get some extra light. Oh, there we go. That's getting there. Let's turn the microscope on. Alright, so I think that joint looks good enough. And if it doesn't hold, we can come back and try again, crack it open another time. But man, that was intense. I had to turn it up all the way to 760, which is, I think, the highest I've ever soldered on. But well, it's attached. Not exactly happy about it. Just hope it doesn't come off. I was trying to do some stress testing on it and just pulling it a little bit, and it seems to be okay. So we're gonna roll with it. And next thing we're gonna do is we're going to solder the controller connectors into the system board. So that's going to be our next step. And oh, I already got that. So these are going to go here, and oh, that's nice. I've got sticky tape on the other side. I was actually just thinking about how I'm going to adhere them to the board, and that's how. We're going to turn our temperature back down. I usually stick around 680. That's what I usually solder at. I'm going to peel this double-sided sticky tape off. Now I'm going to try to very carefully place this so I don't have to reposition it. Okay, there we go. They're all lined up with the little connectors. Do the same thing with this side. Okay, got them all lined up with the connectors, so that's what that looks like. Now we're going to see how difficult it is going to be to solder these. I'm going to start with the one on this side, which has the least amount of points, and we'll start the recording on the microscope so we can follow along. Alright, got a bit of flux on these points. Okay, now I'm actually going to pause real quick and check my instructions and make sure that I need to solder all 5 points. And that's confirmed. Alright, so we got our soldering iron warmed up. And turn on some suction. should be all it takes. So now we're going to do the other side. I think I did much better on this side than the other, but you know what? I think it actually worked out pretty well. And the other thing that I've got to do is desolder a fuse. And that is the F1. Here. That's what I'm going to be soldering one of those wires from the system board onto. Hey, that's what Look at the hot air going. Alright. Okay. There's our fuse. That's where we're going to be soldering it to. Okay. Looking good. So, the next leg of our journey takes us back to, I need to wipe some of this off. So, just gonna, it's supposed to be no clean flux, but it doesn't hurt. Wipe it off. Uh-oh. Nope. Gotta fix that. And what I need to do is also test these solder joints, which we will do. Okay. Let's try that again. A little bit more gentle. That feels much more solid. Okay. I'll clean this little guy off over here. Okay. Now we need to test some continuity. So I'm going to pause this while I test it, because essentially there's a guide on the web page that tells me which points to test and which ones go to which. So I'm going to be doing that now. Alright, traces all came back good, so that's great news. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to place our motherboard in our screen, our front, we'll call it the front panel, our front part of the shell. And now that I've got everything soldered in, I'm more comfortable about squeezing this in, and the more I thought about it, the more I'm confident that they meant for this to be a tight fit. Because if it was not, when you docked it, things would shake around a bit. So that's how it fits. Nice and snug. And I really don't know what I want to do with these. It's an extra, but I don't really want... I might just desolder them, because I don't think I'm going to be using them. TP1 and TP2. I feel like that goes to something here. TP3, TP9, TP7, TP1. Yeah, I think we're going to have to take those off, but we'll do that in a minute. Well, we're desoldering everything else, or while we're soldering everything else. So we'll get our ribbon cable connected back in to place, like so. And then, I'm just going to bend those out like this for now. Maybe I'll put them somewhere like here. I don't know. We'll see what I'm going to do with them. So I got that open. These are my 3 wires, which are going to be soldered to the motherboard. I'll pull those back a little bit, and we're going to put our ribbon in. So I'm going to pause real quick while I check the ribbon config. I'll be right back. Okay, and we are going to put the ribbon cable in like so. Okay, next we're going to drop in the motherboard. Oh, you know what? I need buttons first. That would be helpful. It's probably the biggest downside about all of this is that once I get everything in place and soldered in, my motherboard is soldered into another component, which is not the case currently. This makes it a little more difficult to pop open in the future, I suppose, but nothing out of the world. Okay. You know what? I should probably put the physical buttons in first. There is just something very satisfying about replacing buttons. And that, I think, goes in. I have to put that in after I put in the motherboard. Oh, come on. There we go. Okay. All right. Now what I'm going to do is put my screw in place here. I have no idea still what to do with these. I feel like that's, well, that's lined up how it's supposed to be, but okay. I suppose. Okay. Let's get our screw back in. Which, I think there's one here and one here. Yep. Might as well use the new screws that we have. First ones are the short ones. Okay. Well, everything's screwed into place. What we're gonna do next is put this ribbon cable in and clamp it. Now what I want to do next, I'm gonna put these ribbon cables in, which I don't know why this one is so far over. I hope I didn't mess anything up. That one's really far over. Like really, really far over. I can't see anything from this side. Let me flip it over. Everything looks in place. It might just be a manufacturing defect, I guess. But holy moly, it's really far back there. I don't think that's supposed to do that. But we're just gonna stuff it over there, I guess. And then there's this one. Oh, jeez. Probably should have done this before I put the motherboard back in. Can't see that, can you? I might have to take this thing back out. That's probably why that one's so long, maybe, to be able to get this one in. Okay. Just gonna double check. Yep, that's not crooked at all. It's really weird. Oh, that's gonna be okay. Man, that one sits funky too. Actually gonna make sure that one's in there all the way. No, son of a biscuit. That stupid ground one fell off. All right. I hope that's okay. I feel like they didn't cut the case well enough or measure these to spec like they really should have. Alright, well, that's in there. I'm going to redo that solder joint. I have to solder something else to it anyway. So maybe this will be easier with the screws in. We'll see. Alright, we're just gonna dry fit this real quick. And in fact, I might even try this with the battery pack. Let's see how this fits. Let's see if I'm going to run into any issues here. No. Actually, I think fits pretty decent from what I can tell. Okay. We're going to try screwing it together just slightly. Because I don't have to do... I only really want to test the screen at this point. We're not going to test USB because I still need to solder in those wires. Those ones have pretty good clearance. We're just going to do 2 screws. Okay. Close enough for right now. I'm going to grab my Game Boy game. Insert it like so. And we're going to get our AC adapter. Make sure that works still too. Put it into the wall. Plug it in here. And fingers crossed. Well, that's not good. Okay. Wasn't expecting that. I bet I know why. I bet it does. I think it might create a purposeful short. That's part of the battery protection. So I think I'm not going to be able to test it out until I actually have those lines soldered in. I think all the power is going through the through the new adapter board now. So we're gonna move forward. Come on. Okay. I'm not looking forward to putting that ground wire on again, but I'm gonna have to. And we are going to make that our last thing of the day, because I'm gonna start getting frustrated if this doesn't work. When I get frustrated, I make mistakes. I think we all do. So we're gonna try soldering that back on. We'll get it up to, we're gonna do 740 this time. So I think we were almost hot enough last time, but not as hot as we needed to be. So we're gonna give it another shot. A little bit more flux on there. Put some on here. putting on some suction. It's on there again. So, well, we got it. We'll push it down, and let's figure out where these go. Alright, well, get a little bit of flux. There we're going. Turn this down. Actually, no. We're gonna do the ground first while I got it hot. Man. All right. Alright. Well, that's the end of the soldering. Now, real moment of truth. I'm going to get this shell back on very carefully. Still don't know what to do with those dang wires up top. You know what? I'm just going to put all these back in. Don't know what to do with you yet. Okay. Those wires, I hope, are in a good spot right there. Okay. Get our little screw. here. Oops. All right. Guess we'll do one more screw for the top. So up here this time. You know what? Use the new screwdrivers that they sent me. Probably stripped out the other one. That's a little bit. Okay. All right. Moment of truth. Kind of nervous, gotta admit. It's a lot more soldering than I was kind of expecting. That ground wire is really a pain in the butt. Okay. Oops, that doesn't help. Well, we're going to try USB-C. And see how that goes with the dock. Actually, you know what? This is supposed to be able to use batteries still. Okay. Okay. Well, that's good. I guess I can't use the battery pack anymore, which is interesting. I was just not making good contact. Let me try that one more time. Nope. Alright, well, I guess at least it works with batteries. So now I guess it's time to, let's test it out with that docking station and see how that goes. Alright, well, we had a successful test with the docking station, at least with the display out on the HDMI. I have not yet tested the Bluetooth connectivity, but I did confirm that it boots up and everything seems to be working okay on the TV, so that's awesome. I'm super excited about that. Don't worry, I will I'll actually show you in a little bit what it actually looks like. But first I did want to show you that I figured out the touch capabilities. Found out that these are optional, these little these little pads. I had them on a previous modded Game Boy Advanced SP, and that one only has like touch capabilities when it comes to adjusting the brightness and everything. But what I found out is that this one you can adjust the brightness with holding select, and then you can press either R to increase the brightness or L to decrease it. And if you hold both of them, that brings up the menu down here, which you can move through it by hitting select. So I've turned off the touch controls because the button ones seem to be working just fine. Now I assume that if ever any of the connections in there came off, I would have to revert to using the touch ones or something else. But yeah, this works pretty darn well. I can increase the brightness. Oops, don't want to change the color. I can do pixel effects, which I do happen to kind of like some of those. And if I do brightness, I can increase it that way, and hold select and press both of them to bring it back down. Or I can just do this to increase and decrease the brightness, which I think is awesome. So, seems to be working well. I did test, I did test all the buttons, at least for the physical controls, so that's good. And start works, select works, so that's really good. Actually, I haven't tested out the left and right buttons, but we know those work because they're working in the optical menu. So next thing I'm going to do is, first off, I'm going to clean this dang screen off, and then I'm going to pop it open, and we are going to put it all the way together. And then after that, we will do an actual test on the docking station with a controller, and I'll show you what it looks like on the screen. But I'm really excited. This thing's turning out pretty well. So let's flip her over, crack her open again, take out the batteries. Tell you what, it was it was a little touch and go there for me with this mod for a little bit. I was starting to lose hope with the soldering, and I ended up doing some more research into like the proper temperature at which to heat a solder pad when you are dealing with the contact that's attached to a ground plane, which I think is what was going on with that. It is so like there's so much thermal, I don't know what to call it. Like the heat disperses too easily. Essentially, the ground plane acts like a heat sink, and it makes it so that the heat that you're transferring from the soldering iron isn't actually heating up the metal as much as it needs to, and it's making it so that the solder's not sticking. So I was doing the right thing by turning up the temperature like I did. I probably could have turned it up a little bit more. If this was something that I was like selling or taking a little bit more care with, I would probably have done that. Since this is my own personal item, I'm just going to keep it, and if it messes up, I'll come back in here and I'll redo this mess. But till then, everything seems to be working out no problem. So I'm just going to leave it as is. But what I'm going to do is I am going to take these and I'm just going to insert them in here. I can always use these later, but I'm not going to use them right now. So I'm just going to kind of weave this into this area here, and that's going to be, if I have the wireless GBA adapter, it's going to connect right in there. So I'm not too worried about it being here. And this one, I'll try to do the same thing, because who knows, maybe I'll want to use touch at some point, but I kind of highly doubt it. I mean, I really love having the controls. That's huge. I love that. Okay, everything else looks good. These ribbon cables down here, I still hate how that was not. I don't know. We'll see how it works, because that's going to be that's going to come into play when we actually have it connected to Bluetooth, or a physical controller. We'll see how that actually works. But for now, I think that's good. Oh, we got that wire's caught. Wonder if we can get it up and over this. Let's see how that works. Don't know if that comes flush with it or not. Yep, looks like that's good. Good to go. Okay, so now we can start putting screws back in. We'll start with the little one. It's a special one. Make sure all my buttons are good. Looking good so far. And another thing I did discover while I was testing this out with the docking station is that I won't need my AC adapter at all anymore because I now have USB-C power. So I can either use batteries, or I can plug it into USB-C for power. There we go. There's the port at the bottom. And this unit is complete. Wipe that off a little bit. And there's a couple marks on the screen, but I'm not going to worry too much about them. So next we're going to set this up over on the TV, and we're going to test out pairing a controller and using one of the wired ones as well. Okay, we've got everything set up and ready to go. Here's the docking station, which we've got an OEM Super Nintendo controller plugged in here. There's where we're going to be plugging in the unit. We've got a mini HDMI connected to a regular HDMI, connected to a computer monitor, and then we've got a USB-C plugged into power, which is going over into this generic USB-C or USB adapter. So the one thing that's really kind of awkward about this whole setup is it's really awkward to have it on the dock and turn it on at the same time. So one thing I'm going to try doing is I've got a pair of batteries in here, and this is supposed to have battery protection. So it shouldn't matter if I have batteries in it when I dock it, and it should just stay on. So we're going to power it on. I've got Pokemon Emerald in there right now, and it's booting up. What I'm going to do is I'm going to see if this actually stays at the spot that it is with the batteries on. Alright, that worked out pretty well. And as you can see, it's docked, so I'm going to press start. My Super NES. I've got the controller here. You can see it's working live. And there we go. We've got Pokemon Emerald, which I'm controlling through the Super Nintendo controller. And select button works, start button works, all the controls work. And if I press select, hold, then press the two shoulder buttons at the same time, I get the menu for the screen, which I can change aspect ratio to wide, fit, and then back to normal, which I'll probably just keep it at normal. I can change color mode, FRM, I can never remember what that means, and I can disable that touch setting we found earlier. And then to turn it off, I press and hold select, and press the two shoulder buttons at the same time again. And that's all she wrote. So, that is awesome. I'm super excited about that. And the next thing I want to try doing is the Bluetooth. So, supposedly, the thing's blinking. I've got this this controller here, which I am turning on. I should be able to put it into pairing mode. And we'll see if it pairs up. So, oh! Let's see. Oh. I'm controlling this now with an Xbox controller. That is awesome. There's a little bit of a delay, I think, with the Bluetooth that I can detect, but I don't plan on playing things like Metroid. Like, I can see that you might have some issues playing with Metroid, or maybe even with something like a Zelda title. But honestly, you know what? That might just be I'm watching it on my camera screen on my phone, but looking at it here live, it's not that bad. So that's pretty darn cool. Worst case, I plug into a wired controller and we're good to go. But this, that's super cool. I can actually use both controllers too. Yeah, so this worked out really well. The only thing that I would give as like a critique is this is a little bit wobbly, and it's a pain in the butt to turn it on. It'd be nice if there was like a switch on the docking station as well, so you could, you know, turn it on from there and just leave this on. But I think the next thing I want to do, let's see, we'll pull it off. Yeah, and we're still playing it. Like, that's the advertisement, or the little description on AliExpress was, yeah, this is practically a retro Switch, and I gotta say, it's pretty darn close. This is one of the coolest mods I think I've done. This mod kit I think was totally worth it for like $100. That's not bad for what I got, which was the IPS LED screen, which with all the brightness controls and everything, and the ability to do this dock with Bluetooth controller. That's huge. And now I can not only play Game Boy Color, and Game Boy Advance on my TV, but I can dock it and undock it at will, and I can also just use a USB-C for power if I don't want to have batteries. So I'm pretty excited with how this turned out. Leave a comment if you have any recommendations on other mod kits to try, or other games to test out. And I'm hoping to be putting some more videos up pretty soon regarding some Sega hardware, and hope to have that up in the next few weeks as well. So, till next time. I got to do a little bit of a follow-up on this. I've been playing with the Game Boy Advance for a little over a week now, and I'm absolutely loving it. I especially love the ability to take it off the dock and play it with that IPS backlit screen. So that's something you cannot do with the GameCube Game Boy player. But as I mentioned, I did pick one of those up, and once it arrives, maybe I'll do a follow-up video with a comparison and performance, but more to come on that later. One thing I did want to mention is that the Bluetooth on that docking station, not very great. I actually have been having a lot of trouble with keeping my Xbox controller connected to it. It kind of disconnects, and I think that might be because I have that controller paired with a couple other devices, but I can't honestly tell which one's picking it up. But it keeps disconnecting, and it also has a pretty bad delay, more than I noticed down here. And I've tried connecting a couple other Bluetooth controllers, didn't really seem to do the trick. But what I ended up finding was I got an 8-bit do, which is my first 8-bit do purchase, so I'm usually about the OEM solutions, but this is the closest I could find. So I got an SNES wireless, and this works perfectly. I don't have to worry about syncing it with Bluetooth, and matches my theme of my case. So I've been playing with this. It was about $30 on Amazon. With some gift cards, it was free. But yeah, this thing's been working great, and I can do all of the same screen controls, like select with the shoulder buttons, and it works flawlessly. So I would actually recommend, if you're going and looking out for those dock mod kits, I wouldn't go with the Bluetooth one. Maybe if they do a version 2 of it with better performance and better pairing capabilities, maybe. But until then, if you can pick one of these up for $30, and you can pick up the kit itself on their actual website for like $50 or $60, I would just go with that, as opposed to finding it on AliExpress. I wish I would have done a little bit more research before I had gone through this, but I suffer so that you can benefit. So, you're welcome. Anyway, hope you got made it, for those of you that made it through this whole video, including the follow-up. Thanks for watching. Appreciate your support.